Hi, I'm Matthew Biancanello, and welcome to Eat Your Drinks Masterclass. And thank you so much, Little Italy of Los Angeles, for having me. I'm going to take you through three pretty much Italian classic drinks of mine with some food to pair with it today. So the first drink we're going to do is an aperitif. It's called the Italian Greyhound, and I use a substitute for Aperol called Cappelletti. So you can use Aperol at home, and it's with fresh passion fruit. So this is something that's bitter, it's a little bit tangy, it's sweet, but it's also really good as a starting cocktail because it doesn't have a lot of alcohol. So we start, and you always, when you start a cocktail, for me, it's always about building it with everything you can, whether you're muddling it, whether you're shaking it, but you always take the ingredients and put the alcohol and ice in last, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do, I have a juicer here where I just squeeze fresh lime, so that's a big staple of what I do. So we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice, and this is called a jigger, if you don't know, and you can get all different kinds on the internet. There's a really amazing site called Cocktail Kingdom that has all of the shakers, the muddlers, everything. And then we're going to do 1/2 of an ounce of agave syrup. Now what I do is, one of the reasons why I love to use agave is it adds a really amazing viscosity to the drink. And it's really easy to make. So what you'll do is you'll take like a agave nectar, you'll do equal parts of like 1 cup of agave nectar to 1 cup of water, and all you have to do is stir and it dissolves. So you don't have to heat it up like honey, you don't have to heat up like sugar, there's no cooling time, and it's really simple. So we're gonna do 1/2 ounce of that, and I'm going down on the sugar because the Cappelletti and the Aperol obviously is a lot sweeter, right? So we'll do 1/2 ounce of the agave syrup. And then my favorite fruit in the world is back in season, and that's fresh passion fruit, which you can pick up in California now. And this is what passion fruit looks like after you scoop it out. I love to use the whole fruit, so I love to use the seeds as well, because I love how the black seeds show up in the orange drink. So we're gonna do 1 ounce of this. And if you don't know this, passion fruit is not only is it amazingly huge in vitamin C, but it's actually an anti-cancer. So I put 1 ounce of that, and now we're gonna do 2 ounces of the Cappelletti, okay, or the Aperol. We'll do 2 ounces of that. And sometimes, listen, if you want something that's a little bit boozier, you could put 1/2 ounce of vodka in, or maybe 1 ounce. Sometimes it's depending on what I'm doing. Knowing that I'm serving multiple drinks, it's nice for me to keep this lower on the alcohol to start. So see how I did not put the ice in yet? That's really, really important because I could get distracted. I'm making food, someone's pulling me away. You always want to put the ice in just before you shake it so that ice doesn't sit there and just melt and dilute the drink. We are gonna use a coupe today without ice. So until recently, I didn't know about these peppers. These are peppers from Calabria, which I'm sure you all know of. But it got the great spice, but not too spicy, and I love the color of it. So we're gonna just put those down in the middle here. So what's great is those will have a nice little drench, right, of the drink. So if you wanna eat them afterwards, you can, okay? And then now we're gonna get some ice. So we're gonna put some ice in here. And then these are what are called shaker tins, okay? I like to use this. It's what people refer to as tin on tin. A long time ago, I just got away from a glass shaker, because, you know, when you're cooking or you have citrus on your hands, it tended to slip out of my hand, so it made it dangerous. Like I didn't want it to go flying. So we're gonna take this. Again, these tins are on Cocktail Kingdom. And for a shake, I mean, I do shake very aggressively, but what the most important thing you wanna do is, if you can get up here, this is your longest range of motion. Instead of going like here, I don't have a lot of range of motion. This is your longest range of motion. So you just shake it. And then what we'll do, you'll learn to be able to take this off with the cold. And again, I'm not gonna double strain this. I want the seeds in there and so forth. So we'll pour this over. And what I love is the little drops of oil from the peppers are being released. So we've got that, and what I thought would be a perfect pairing with this is basically a guacamole that I make from scratch. And I like, this time of year, I love using the Reed avocado. That's a really beautiful almondy kind of avocado. And I take some prosciutto and I have them cut it for me thick. Okay, so I'll cut that up, I fry it up. It just adds this great little zest to it. You don't have to do anything to the prosciutto. Obviously it's got all that flavor, right? And then these are actually, these are leek blossoms. So this is what happens when most herbs, when they're at the end of their life, start to flower. Because the whole point of it is it comes up, and then this is supposed to shoot out into the world so that they can keep regenerating, keep producing. So these are amazing. They're very buttery. I just take a little bit of those and put those on top. So what I did is I took blood oranges and I dehydrated it. Basically it looks like a stained glass window. It's got a perfect amount of sweet and sour in it, but it makes an incredible chip for the guacamole. And that's it. So you've got the guacamole with the blood orange strips, a little bit of fried prosciutto on top, and then the Italian greyhound with the peppers from Calabria. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. We're gonna do the next one right now. Okay, the next drink that we're doing is called the roquette. That's the French name for arugula or rocket, or as we say in Italian, rucola. And we use the wild arugula. So you can buy that at Whole Foods, you can buy it at any farmer's market, which I prefer obviously. Living in California, arugula is one of the most seasonal year-round things. So we're lucky about that. So this drink is really dear to my heart. It's one of the first drinks that I did that really kind of knew that I was onto something. And also it's the only drink that I've made in 11 years that I've never altered. So the recipe has stayed the same. The only thing I change sometimes is whether you're a gin drinker or whether you're a vodka drinker. I prefer gin personally because the botanicals that are in gin marry so well with the herbs. But I have recently discovered this amazing vodka called Castro e Leon, just recently come to Los Angeles, and because I'm half Greek and Italian, this is actually made from people who are half Greek, half Italian. It's produced in Greece from green olives, so we're gonna use that today. And this is a really important cocktail because everything I base my cocktails on is really based on this drink. And I can explain, because I was self-taught and I never really had anybody teach me, I really had to create on my own, and I had to figure this out on my own. And I had read about the daiquiri. The daiquiri was made in Cuba in the 1930s, right? And what was the daiquiri? It was rum, lime, and sugar, okay? So as soon as I read that, as soon as I discovered that, that's when the light bulb went off for me, especially someone who was self-taught, I said, oh my God, if I take out the rum and put tequila, it's a margarita. If I take out the rum and put gin, it's a gimlet. If I put in mint, it's a mojito. So what happened is this whole formula formed in my mind. And it was very simple. It was 2 ounces of either some kind of spirit, 3/4 ounce of some kind of lime or lemon citrus, and then some kind of sugar, 3/4 ounce. So that really is the formula of everything that I've kind of based it on. So what we're going to do is we're going to start again with the shaker and everything, all the same tools, except we have one other additional tool. So what I like to do is just take, you could measure, it probably comes out to about a cup, but I just take one kind of heaping thing of arugula. So it is a considerable amount. And what I do is you're not stuffing it in, but by the time you drop it in, that whole thing is filled, the tin, right? And then we're going to do again, we're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice. And 3/4 of an ounce of the agave syrup again. Okay. Now obviously before we put in the alcohol, we're going to muddle this, okay? So this is a muddle. This is called an OXO. You can get this on Amazon or usually any kind of sur la table or places like that. But the reason why I like this kind of muddler is it's hard. It's made from metal, right? So you're not going to have any bacteria that stays on that. There's not going to be any smells that stay on there. It also has these teeth. For me, I love having something that has all these teeth because I really love to grind all the things together. And really what I'm trying to do, and I'll show you, is to make this arugula basically into like a pesto. And the best way really when you're muddling is you're basically pushing down and turning at the same time. So I'm pushing down and turning at the same time. That's kind of the easiest and fastest way you're gonna get this done. Okay? So you muddle this down like that. And And that's how it should look, if you can see that inside. And then we're gonna use 2 ounces of the vodka. Again, when you're pouring, I like to pour right over the tin just in case you overflow, but also you don't have to travel very far, right? So it's not gonna spill, so that makes it really easy. We're all set. We're gonna set up the glass now. So what I like to use for this drink is what's called an old fashioned. So it's like a whiskey glass, a double old fashioned, sometimes they call it. So I like to put in a big cube, and of course, there's lots of places that you can buy big cubes, but if you don't have access to it, you can get one of these beautiful silicone trays. And basically I just stuffed calendula, but you can put any kind of edible flowers in there, beautiful flowers. And maybe we'll keep it upright since those flowers are pretty on the top there, okay? Okay, and again, we put the ice and we're gonna shake, so you take a few cubes in there. Usually, depending on your ice, you have 3 or 4 cubes. So instead of going like this and then flipping it, because then you can have a problem with things spilling, what I like to do is just kind of really just pour that right into there. And good, and you're getting a nice seal too, so that's how you know. Shake it again. And now with this is, I do sometimes like to keep the arugula, but I say let's keep this clean, you know, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something that's called a double straining. So you take a tea strainer like this, and all you're doing is straining. What I like to do is I like to go around the cube so we don't melt it too much, okay? There you go. And this is what I would call kind of like the first course, you know, so we had the appetizer, we have maybe the amuse-bouche. Now this is the first course, right? So we have this here, and then I have the perfect thing. So you almost kind of think of like, this is kind of like a salad. You know, this has a very salad quality to it. And what I love to pair with this is I just made an incredible salmon collar with sun-dried tomatoes. And what this is really simple. I actually prefer getting the salmon collar as opposed to a yellowtail, which is very famous in Japanese restaurants. And it's very simple. It's just broiled on both sides in olive oil, onion powder, and I use a little bit of tamari. And there's a high fat content on it. It just comes right off the bone. And the greatest thing with this is you really can't dry that out. So it's usually about 15 minutes each side. If you have to, maybe 8. And there you go. So you've got the roquette with the salmon collar. Okay, now we're gonna make the final drink, which is a coffee drink, which goes with the dessert that I made today, the tiramisu. It's the first drink we're gonna do today, which kind of breaks the rules of what I talked about when it comes to the daiquiri, having the citrus and the sugar and the spirit. We're gonna not use any syrup, sugar syrup, and we're not gonna use any citrus, okay? But we're gonna use some other things that kind of are in the same properties of those that make it up. So this is a drink called un caffè va bene. So in Italian basically means, you know, have a coffee, everything is good. And it's basically with 3 ingredients. It's Cynaro, so Cynar. If you don't know what Cynar is an Amaro. Amaro in Italian means bitter. And Cynar is actually made from artichokes. And it's not that you taste the artichokes in it, but it's predominantly where the bitterness is coming from. There are also, I think, 12 or 13 additional herbs that are in there. When I do private parties, I usually serve this like at a wedding, like a shot of it after you had dinner, right? So now it's like you need a little bit of caffeine because it has coffee in it, and then you need to kind of feel light again to start dancing. So it's got Cynar, it's got cassis, which is a black currant liqueur, so it's made from black currants, and then espresso. And the wonderful thing about the espresso is you don't have to make this to order. So if you don't have an espresso machine, just go to Whole Foods, Starbucks, Coffee Bean, have them make you a bunch of shots, and that can just stay in your refrigerator. But try to use it that day if you're going to use it. But you don't have to have it fresh. It's fine just like this. So we're going to start, and we're going to do 2 ounces of Cynar. So Cynar is also lower in alcohol as well. So it's about, I think it's about 14%. And Amaro, typically this is wine based with a spirit, okay? We can say vodka, but it's really just a neutral grain spirit. Okay, so it's 2 ounces of this, right? And then we're gonna do a 1/2 ounce of cassis, the blackcurrant liqueur. And this is all we're using in terms of sugar, obviously, because this is sweetened, it's a liqueur. And Cynar already has some sugar in that as well. And then the last part is the espresso, okay? So we're gonna do 1 ounce of espresso. So it's 2 ounces of Cynar, 1/2 ounce of cassis, 1 ounce of espresso. And again, this needs to be made, doesn't have to be fresh, doesn't have to be warm, none of that. And then we'll put the ice in. Now what's important about this drink is we wanna create a skooma for it, right? So we're gonna shake it really hard, it will have a foam, a skooma to it, and it's gonna look like almost there was cream in it. So we're gonna do that right now. We'll do a nice ricochet. Again, we're pouring this into here. So I'm gonna go a little longer, okay? And I'm gonna get this amazing froth, okay? And then I made a little tiramisu here, very simple dessert that obviously doesn't need to be baked. And what I do is it's mascarpone cream that I whip. I make into a whipped cream. Obviously you have to make a sabayon with sugar and eggs with a double boiler. I actually grate a little bit of mint chocolate, 90%. And then when I dip the ladyfingers, I actually dip them in espresso, a little bit of white port that has been infused with candy cap mushrooms, okay? Now candy cap mushrooms is definitely one of my favorite mushrooms. It was discovered 20 years ago in Marin County. And most mushrooms that are dried, they don't have much flavor, right? But these give off the amino acid of like maple syrup, burnt sugar, butter. So that's what's gonna give that flavor. So here we go. We've got the Un Caffè Va Bene with the tiramisu, Cynar, cassis, and espresso. This has been Eat Your Drinks Masterclass. Thank you so much, Little Italy of Los Angeles, for having me. I look forward to many more. Please reach out to me if you need any help with any of the recipes. I'm at Eat Your Drink on Instagram, at Eat Your Drink. I look forward to hearing about them, and I hope to see you again soon. Ciao, bello and bellas.